Hello, everybody. It's Stuart Watson here for the latest edition of the Kings of Anglia podcast, brought to you by the East Anglian Daily Times. And I am delighted today, the day after the night before, to bring you a very special guest. It's Ipswich Town Chief Executive Mark Ashton. Mark, you got the trophy there just over your shoulder. Give us a little look.
Let me get it. There she is.
Look at that. First question, Mark. How's the head this morning?
The head's all right. I was quite good last night. I only had a couple of drinks. I think I wanted to savor everything, to be honest. And I knew there was going to be some operational things to do today, so we had to be fairly level-headed. But what a day!
You said to me just before we started recording, Ipswich Town Premier League. Have you got bored of saying that yet? Has it sunk in for you fully yet?
No, I'll never get bored of saying it. That's for sure. But no, it hasn't sunken in. We've been so dialed into the process. Game win, game win, game win. Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday for 9 months and beyond, because this started way beyond that. It's going to take quite a while to sink in, that's for sure. But just to hear people say that to me, I'm just delighted for everyone at the club. I'm delighted for everyone in the town, the community, the wider county. I saw a town erupt last night like I've never seen before, and I'm just so proud of this football club.
How was yesterday for you emotionally? How did you wake up in the morning? How were you during the game? What was it like?
I was up at 4. I was up at 4 a.m. Sat downstairs. I just felt I needed some time to get my head right for the day, because I'm very aware that my mood is everyone's mood at the club. And in a leadership role, you have to show you've got this, even if sometimes you don't feel like you have inside. But I actually felt quite calm yesterday. I'd seen Kieran and the staff and the players Friday, and it was match day -1. It was no different. Kieran had everyone sticking to the processes, no one getting ahead of themselves. Injury update was really good. Players were available. And I just looked at a manager and a coaching staff who, along with their players, are so dialed into what he wants them to do. They just gave me a sense of, Mark, we've got this.
That calmness certainly does rub off on everyone, from the manager, from the captain. We felt it in the pre-match press conference on Friday. I think Tuesday night was the emotional one for you. I think, I saw you post-match there, and you certainly felt, I think that was the night where maybe it hit you, was it?
Yeah. I wouldn't hide away from that. It was tough, and it was emotional. From a personal perspective, I felt like I had a weight on my shoulders, and that weight was I just didn't want to let anyone down. I didn't want to let the fan base down, the community down, the stakeholders down. And when you're CEO, you're sat in the stands and you're in control of nothing. You've done your work. You've appointed the manager. You've appointed the players. You've appointed the staff. You've put the processes in place with them, and you have to trust that. But yeah, the Coventry game, I just felt, I don't know why, I just felt a tough watch. I thought our fans were incredible. And I must admit, when that final whistle went after Coventry, there was a part of me that said, okay, we've got this. Because I almost felt if the team didn't perform fantastically well yesterday, the crowd would carry them across the line. Our fans have been that good. But together, yesterday, they were fantastic. And I think you saw that game was never in doubt.
Got the ink yet? You vowed to get the tattoo.
It's coming. Tattooist was at the game yesterday. I bumped into him on the pitch afterwards. And he's promised he's going to book me in this week. So, yeah, I said, I'll do it. It'll get done this week. And you can have the exclusive, my friend.
What are you getting? You said you're going to get the Suffolk Punch horse, weren't you, on the wrist? Is that still the plan?
Yeah, I promised I would do it. It'll get done.
And Brett Johnson as well. I think he's also vowed to do the same. So you're going to hold him to that?
Listen, I'm not sure whether he'd had a drink or two, but Fabio Wardley also said to me last night, okay, if you're doing it, I'm doing it.
Fantastic.
So there could be a series of these going out.
You said you held off the drinks yourself last night to enjoy it. Who enjoyed the celebrations the most, Mark? Let us know.
You know what? I thought that everybody was really good. We planned a series of things for the staff, players, families, etc. Slightly different locations, just because of the size of venues, trying to get everybody into one place, and everybody ended up in one bar. But you know what? Everybody I thought was really respectful. There was no one when I left. No one had been over the top. I've had no bad reports this morning, and it was an opportunity to celebrate. But what surprised me again, there were thousands of fans there, thousands of fans outside the venue, and just engaging with the staff, engaging with myself, the players, the board. I keep coming back to it. The fans have just been. We could have sold that stadium twice over yesterday.
Yeah. What's the plans for the lads now? Are you gonna fund something for them? A little trip away? Are you gonna reward them? What's the plan?
I think. Look, we've got parade tomorrow, and I'm just hoping the weather holds up and that gives everyone a chance to celebrate. I think Kieran will have players in on Tuesday. Formal debrief. Stick to the process. And then I think at the back end of the week, the lads may go away for a couple of days. We're just firming that up now. But just whilst we're on the lads, a big thanks to them, because both on and off the pitch, I think they have been and continue to be incredible community ambassadors for this football club. And I think this is how you build sustainable success. You saw a town and a county again come together yesterday, and I think the players have played a major part in doing that with all the community work they continue to do. So just thank you to the players as well.
When you first arrived here, Mark, when the takeover happened and you were installed in this position, you outlined some pretty bold visions from the start, that raised a few eyebrows, I think, both internally and externally. I was lucky and fortunate enough to be invited along to a little sort of media briefing early doors, and I remember you standing there and showing some slides of not just plans to get promoted to the Championship, but Premier League. The words Premier League were getting thrown around that day, and I remember coming away from there thinking, Premier League feels miles away. And I know you sat in meetings internally and talked about how many season tickets you could sell, and you said sort of few people maybe looked at you like you had two heads. The vision has come to fruition, and it's come to fruition quick. How's it feel?
It's a really good question. I think, if I'm honest with you, there's a bit of justification in there for me personally. I've always had a model of operating that, whilst will flex, doesn't really change. That starts with the recruitment of a McKenna type manager. We've talked about this before. It's the way I work. It's the DNA of managers I want to recruit. But if I get stability above me, if I get stability from the ownership group, and I get that oxygen to do my job and deliver against the plan, I think that's so important. Mark Steed, PSPRS, his vision to back me right at the beginning was incredible. That's continued through Ed Schwartz, who's managed the major shareholding right the way through, and Mike O'Leary. They've, if you like, put a shield around me just to keep pumping the oxygen in for me to be the best version of myself. And that's allowed me to do exactly the same for Kieran. I've said to you before, I don't go to the training ground every day. I don't need to do that. It's his office. He needs to be given the space to work, and I need to support him and work with him and challenge him when I need to. And that's the way that relationship's built. And I think that stability has been key. Now, within that, we've set some big and bold objectives off the pitch, but there's a plan behind those objectives. I talked about retail, that we'd only ever sold 10,000 shirts. And people will say, well, he said he's now sold 50,000 shirts. I was corrected on Thursday. We've now sold over 60,000 shirts this season. This is top Premier League numbers. We've sold 22,000 season ticket holders. We've capped it. We're going to have to invest further in the stadium because we've got to be Premier League ready. We've put all the digitalisation in. I'm so pleased we put the pitch in last season, by the way, and don't have to do it this season, because that would have been really tight. We're going to build a training ground. The funding's in place. We've tried to build a house of stone, Stuart, so that when the team do have a wobble, and in fairness, they haven't really had many, if any, there is something to fall back on. And we're just trying to do this properly. And so I think off the pitch, we've seen huge progression, but we've seen a plan executed. And on the pitch, there's also a plan. And that plan is led by Kieran McKenna. But what we've done behind Kieran is we've invested in top people, Premier League standard people in League One, who've put infrastructure, policies, processes, resources in place for Kieran to use and lead. And he leads that and develops that unbelievably well on a daily basis.
What we witnessed yesterday is what this ownership group saw the potential of this club, didn't it? A club with rich history, that's a one club county. It's not just the population of Ipswich, but it's Suffolk and beyond, isn't it? And you always said that, you felt like if you could light a fuse underneath it, it was a rocket ship that was going to take off. And my word, it's taken off.
Yeah. People talk to me and ask me, I've said this before, what was my best decision? Oh, is it appointing Kieran? Oh, is it bringing in that player? No, the best decision was the identification of the asset of Ipswich Town Football Club. And again, the support of Mark Steed and PSPRS right at the beginning to trust that identification was right. Mike O'Leary's ability to execute that deal and get that acquisition done. And then myself joining to lead the business on a daily basis. If you don't get it right on the way in, you're always going to struggle once you're in. So we had to get that piece right. And once we were in, we could then start to build.
Even so, this is beyond your wildest dreams. Even as the man that had the biggest ambitions of them all, this is ahead of schedule, right?
Yeah, because it's sport and we have jeopardy. I just had a call with Ed Schwartz, and Ed Schwartz said to me, we sat down in the summer. He and I met in London for a couple of days to sign off the plan. And Ed said that he'd asked me at that point if I genuinely believed we could get promoted. And he said, you looked at me, Mark, with an absolute steel in your eyes and said 100% yes, but I couldn't guarantee when, because we have jeopardy there. But the width of a post is a win or defeat. But I had an absolute and have an absolute belief in this club, in this staff, in Kieran and the players. And as I said in pre-season, we would attack this division. Some people laughed at that. Some people scorned that. We saw that. But I think we're justified now on the basis that we're in the Premier League.
Still feels a little strange to say out loud at the moment. We'll talk about sort of the next, because as you say, the process continues. You'll be back on business mode pretty quickly. But for now, just reflecting on this season, what was the moment? What have been your favourite moments along the way? Whether it be personal moments, whether it be moments where you thought this is happening. It might be things that people don't know about, the things that have been individual to you. What moments that you could maybe pluck out for me?
There are so many. I think off the pitch, I've seen a group of staff grow, galvanised, come together, start to understand a plan and the ability to execute that plan. You've just talked about the numbers in retail. The likes of Gavin Preston, who lead ticketing, and his staff, the way they've executed, the way Dan Palfrey has driven our community project now, 9,000 participants per week, the Dementia Cafe that carries on every single week, the engagement with the former Players Association, getting them with us, asking them, you've got former England internationals, managers, etc., to believe in this team because we needed to be as one is key. And I think I've just seen a group of staff, players and everyone run towards adversity. And I think on the pitch for me, the challenge came Leicester at home when Hursty got injured. Because I think at one point we were going into a series of games and Caden was probably the only fit 9 that we had in the building. And I just wondered whether we could be resilient enough to get through that period and get to the window in January. And January, we needed to have a good window. And again, I feel the pressure of that because that's my response, ultimately my responsibility. But again, I think last year in League One, we had a good January, and I think we had a solid January again. And I think that gave us the boost we needed squad-wise just to get that momentum going. I don't think we had a blip. I think we had a natural run of results, because it was just going to be a tough period with a lot of games. But 6 losses in a season, come on, that's ridiculous.
98 points in League One, 96 in the Championship. I mean, this is history-making stuff, isn't it?
I'm not sure it'll happen again, Stuart. I look at it and I may be proven wrong. But if you look at you've got at least 3 big parachute payment clubs. You've got other clubs in the division still on parachute payments, remember. And And I'm struggling to think, have we actually been outside of the top 3 for the majority of the season? I don't think we have. We've been there and there away. And I've said this before, myself and Luke Warren have been to league meetings. We've been around other clubs. We go to boardrooms. We're the chatter. Ipswich will fall away. Ipswich will have a blip. The big clubs will go past them. Nah, not with this manager, not with this team. And that was the faith I could see in them. You could see the strength. You could see the togetherness. And I'm just really proud of them.
Financially, I mean, we've talked about it there. Really, no right to compete with the likes of Leeds, Southampton, Leicester. Can you put the scale of the sort of the financial underdog status that you've had this year? I mean, you spent well. That's in League One, no doubt about it. But in the Championship, I mean, can you give us an idea of where the wage bill would sit of the 24 this year?
I would say, I'm just working this through, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 3 teams probably closest to us are probably 4 or 5x our salary base. I think that gives you a steer. Beyond that, we'd be mid to lower mid-table. And we know if you look at transfer fees in the Championship, we haven't spent a ton of money. We've developed a squad, which is what we said we'd do. We said we would build Premier League standards in League One that we believe could carry us all the way through. And I think people, even close to us, looked at us and went, yeah, those are just words. You're just telling a story, Mark. But they weren't. We actually believed that was possible and we could develop and we could attack the division and we could be competitive. And I think that's what we've done is we've stuck to our plan. And I'm not saying our plan is perfect, by the way. It's not. This is just our way of doing. This is the Ipswich way of doing things. Other people will be successful doing things their own way. And, good on them for that. But we sat down, Kieran and I came up with a way and a model that we wanted to do this. And through rain or shine, we've stuck to it.
Yeah, sometimes you hear people talk a lot about culture in football, and it can sound a bit like a throwaway soundbite. And maybe people felt that way about the running towards adversity piece when that first came out. But it means something, doesn't it? People are fully bought into all of this. That's what underpins all of this, doesn't it?
No, you're absolutely right. I genuinely believe that, like, the last minute winners, the big goals, the physical blocks, getting across the line. Of course, technical and tactical and physical ability comes into that, but culture underpins it. You've seen the togetherness. The way people physically put their bodies on the line. If you look at our physical data, we literally outrun every club in this division, and that comes from culture. Environment creates culture. Our environment is working with our local community, whether we win on Saturday, whether we have a game to get promoted on the next Saturday. The Thursday before, players attend the Dementia Cafe. We have school visits on the Friday, match day -1. That's what we do. And within those moments, you build culture and you build a relationship with the community, then stick with you, whether you win, lose or draw. And this community, I think we've found a generation of fans who hadn't witnessed success at their local football club ever. And I think the coming together of that, I thought I saw something special a year ago when we beat Exeter. I've never seen anything like yesterday.
Whatever happens from here is a legacy piece, isn't there? There was a real danger of this club losing the next generation of fans. When you guys came in and took over. Is it the community aspect? I saw the footage of you at primary schools this week leading up to it, and kids now wearing Ipswich shirts across the town and not Manchester City or Arsenal or whoever. And it's this feeling of community and hearts and minds being one. Whatever happens from here, there's a lasting legacy, isn't there?
For sure. And look, what I would say to you is you see probably 90% of the community work we do, because 90% of it, what the broadcasters were there. They'll see me at the school on Friday at Gusford Primary, which is the right thing to do because that's what we do. But there's also 10% of the work that myself, the staff and the players ask not to be promoted, because there's a lot of work that goes on with individuals behind the scenes, whether that's donating things to individuals or the local community or paying for things within the local community, that the player, staff, myself and the club do, because it's just the right thing to do. And that's not to be publicised, because that's just doing the right thing when no one else is looking. And I think within those moments, we bring the club, its community, its fan base, its stakeholders together. And when that final whistle went against Coventry, and when that final whistle went on Saturday, I felt an outpouring from the fans that at last this football club had retaken its place at the top table of English football. And I can't thank the fans enough.
Kieran McKenna was asked yesterday already about what the Premier League is going to be like, how prepared he's going to be, and he had a little wobble at the knees, a raise of the eyebrows, as if to say, "Come on, give me 24 hours at least to enjoy this one." But it'd be remiss of me, Mark, not to speak to you about the challenge that lies ahead. I know what you'll be like. You'll be straight on this. I mean, I guess plans and preparations have started already. You must have had Plan A and Plan B in place.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we just start with off the pitch for a second, the Premier League have something that they call Rule K. So in December, the Premier League look at a small group of clubs that they think could be promoted, and they audit your facilities. We had that audit in January, February, March. We have a list of things, 15 minimum major projects now that have to be delivered at the stadium. And I'm going to have to come and talk to the fans about that over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be some more changes at Portman Road. That runs into several million in costs to deliver that. But we have to, they are minimum standards because Portman Road has not been in the Premier League for so long. Our floodlights are not acceptable. There's a multitude of huge projects around broadcast, media, etc. that we've got to do. So there's a hell of a lot of work off the pitch to do, which is why I said I'm so pleased we did the pitch last season, because to do that this season with this work to do would have almost been on an impossible timeline. On the pitch, it's the biggest challenge of all. This is the biggest league, the best league. Best players, best coaches, best managers on the planet are in this league. And I think both myself and Kieran will relish the opportunity to pit our wits against them. We've had several discussions about what this could look like. And obviously, it's not like you're running two detailed plans, because the plan's almost the plan, but you tweak and turn what you want to do on the levels. So we know the direction of travel we want to go. And I think myself and Kieran well enough to know that this club will be as prepared as it can be come that first game.
Is it a balancing act between retaining the culture, the camaraderie, the spirit, the bond of this group, that consistency, that momentum you've talked about being the superpower this season, retaining the core of that, but also knowing that, as Kieran acknowledged yesterday, it's a humongous, monumental leap up from the Championship to the Premier League, and adding on top of that and being ready for it.
It's a real difficult. It's a fine line. It's a fine line. But if anyone can walk that line, it'll be Kieran. So we have to evolve the squad. That's just nature. But we have to keep the core of our culture. And you lose that at your peril. I talked about before, our most important asset are our people on and off the pitch. So we'll walk a fine line on that. But look, ultimately, players will come into the football club. Players may move out the football club. That's just the nature of football. But we have to keep the heart and soul of what we've just achieved.
What sort of budget we're looking at this summer? The ownership is ambitious. The TV money will go through the roof, so you'll be getting far greater income. You're going to give this a go?
Yeah, I think we will. Look, we won't be reckless, that's for sure. We'll be brave and bold. I think we've done that since the day we walked into the football club. But we've got to get our head round. There's a lot of debate in the Premier League around their financial fair play rules changing. So we need to get our head around that pretty quick. We've got a good direction of travel on where that's going. But you know me well enough. I won't talk specific numbers because that would kill me in a transfer market. But again, I think we'll be brave. Again, I've said this ahead of every transfer window, and I think in every transfer window we have been brave. And I hear noise that, if we haven't signed 4 players in the first week of a transfer window, people are saying, "Oh, we said we're going to be brave. We hasn't signed anyone yet." Well, it's a long transfer window, and I think you've seen us. We're fairly methodical in what we do. We try and do our homework. We don't get everything right, but I think if you looked at it on a percentage, we've got more right than we've got wrong. And Kieran will 100% want to keep in that vein. He'll want the right type of character with the right technical and tactical and physical ability to take us forward.
I guess it kind of new territory for you, negotiating deals for Premier League players and wages. You've kind of Championship is ruthless environment, but do you expect it to have new challenges again with agents and other clubs from across the continent and the world to compete with? What's that going to be like?
It's the same thing, just bigger numbers.
Yeah.
Again, we know all the agents, worked with him long enough. We know the clubs, we've worked with them long enough. And it's just, if you like, the philosophy of how we do these deals stays the same. The numbers just flex. The numbers, it was the same challenges, just different numbers from League One to the Champ, and from the Championship to the Premier League will be the same challenges, just with, unfortunately, much bigger numbers. But that means you've got to get it right, and your mistakes have to be less. As the numbers get bigger, you make the mistakes at that level. Sometimes it's hard to recover from. So again, we'll be methodical, we'll be calm, and we'll be processed as we step through this.
I'm very conscious of the financial landscape with what we've seen with Everton and Forest.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know we've spoken about it lots of times, haven't we? It's you're fully aware of that landscape.
Yeah, look, we won't be wild. We'll be methodical, but again, we'll be brave. And I think we've done that again this season. I think we've been brave in the people that we've brought in. But you've seen them. You've seen these players that have been brought in. They fit quick because Kieran's done his homework, and recruitment analysts, technical have done their homework. Is when they come, they slot into his processes and his system really quickly, and that's what I know for sure that's what he's going to want.
Recruit from abroad. It's not happened so far. You've said it's got to be the right time. Is now the time you need to spread the net a little bit further?
Listen, the net's already been spread. We're already doing the work in those territories. It's the right player has just not dropped for us that we've wanted to do. So we'll continue the work, and if the right one's there, we would execute it. If it's not there, we won't.
I don't always ask about specific players, but I have to ask you about this young man, Amari Henderson. He's finished the season on fire. Ipswich Town fans want to see him back. I think he wants to come back. Any chance, Mark?
Listen, you never know. It's really early at the moment. I think what Kieran's done with Amari from day one when he joined us, how he's developed him. He's gone from a bit part player to a mainstay in the team to someone who's really impacted the team, again, as you've seen over the last few games. I think we'd probably love to have him here. Let's be for sure about that. But that would mean discussions with Chelsea, with his agent, with him, his family, etc. And all of that will take a little bit of time. What happens in all these deals? You get promoted. Everybody talks emotionally about, I want to be here. I want to do this. I want to do that. You've got to let the dust settle and then calmly speak to the right people. And it's another one we'll step through and we'll see where we go. But he's been an exceptional talent for us. I think he's come to the forefront incredibly well in recent weeks. But again, we'll sit down with Kieran and we'll have a good look at what we're going to do.
Do you think it will be when the fixture list comes out that it kind of really hits home for a lot of people?
I think for my staff, it's probably going to be in the next 24, 48 hours that I give them the workload and the work schedules, because I say this, you're always one bad summer window away from a disastrous season. And everyone will say to me now, even my own board last night, I said, Mark, you need some time off. You need to breathe. You need to step back. No chance. Can't. Now I have to go again. Now we have to go again, because we have to get ready. And that ability, whilst everyone rests, when we work, gives us a slight advantage. We understand the market slightly better. We understand the market slightly earlier. So I think, my team, those who have worked with me for many, many years, know what Monday or Tuesday, probably, they can have bank holiday. Tuesday will bring, and Tuesday will be 9 o'clock, Mark's office, whiteboard through. This is the plan, gentlemen. Let's go.
Yeah. You touched on it earlier. You've been written off all season by so many. You'll probably be written off again going into next season. People will look at Burnley, Sheffield United, Luton this season. You'll relish that, won't you?
Love it. It's called what I call in the office a shark mentality. Sharks attack from behind, and that's what we've done. Everyone thinks we're going to fall away. We don't. We have a shark mentality, which is to attack everything on our front foot, be ahead of the curve, be the best versions of us, and just focus on us. We had discussions in the offices over the last month. Turn the TVs off on match day when Leeds are kicking off at 12. Don't want to see it. Why waste the emotional energy on it? We can't control it. Focus on us. And it's all we've just been maintaining our energy, focusing on Ipswich, focus on the team, focus on us, be the best versions of us. And I thought on Saturday, I thought Coventry, I thought Hull, when we needed that energy, whether you're the security guard, whether you're the kit man, whether you're the manager, whether you're the coaches or the players, we needed every ounce of emotional energy we had. I certainly did. And I think ultimately that discipline thought, that discipline process, that discipline action played a major part of getting Kieran and the boys across the line.
Yeah, well-run clubs can consolidate themselves in the Premier League. We've seen that. We've seen, I don't know if there's a particular example that you look to, but Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth, others, it shows it can be done. And you've always said there's no limits on this. You won't be going up into the Premier League to make up the numbers. Is that fair to say?
Hell no. I think those who know me know Kieran well enough. We go back, keep saying it will be the best versions of ourselves that we possibly can be. And yeah, there are. Listen, I think if you just mentioned two clubs in Brentford and Brighton, who are extremely well-run football clubs, have gone into the Premier League, have not only maintained, but particularly in Brighton, have moved on. They've built an incredible model. I actually think there's quite a few similarities between them and us. But we've got to be us. And I say this, we're not perfect. We're not. We just have a way of doing things, and then we work as hard as we possibly can on that way of doing things. And I think when you look at a Brighton or a Brentford, they have their way of working, and they stick to their way of working, and that continuity gives them the best platform for success. And I think we have to be the same. And as a CEO and as a manager, you've got to put the earphones on at times, because we have to turn the noise off. We have to stay on the track, stick to the plan, and just keep going. We might tweak and turn the plan, but we have to stay on the plan. We're not a club that's going to wildly change managers, wildly change players. We will be consistent in our behaviours and try and build something. That might not be right for others, and that's fine. It's just our way of doing things. We want to do this the Ipswich way.
You talked about people being at the heart of it. One of the most important men of all has been Kieran McKenna. He's going to continue on this journey with us, isn't he?
He's certainly not told me he's not. No, look, he's invested. It's been a pleasure. It's a continued pleasure to watch him grow and develop. I'd class Kieran as a friend as well as a colleague, and we talk 2 or 3 times a day if we need to. We don't talk at all if we don't need to. There's very few wasted words, but we've worked well together. And I think you find out more about each other when pressure comes. And we've had some challenging times and some pressured times over the last few months, but we've stayed really tight as one, very focused, common purpose, common goal. And he's instrumental in what we've done and what I think we can do. So I think I've said all along, I want Kieran here for the long term.
Well, congratulations once again, Mark, and extend a thank you on behalf of everybody who's been so invested in this journey and is so excited about the journey to come.
No, look, and just whilst I've got you, can I also thank you, because you're one of the key stakeholders in the football club, and from day one, you've been ultra professional in your approach. We've had some very robust conversations at times, but you've acted with integrity, you've acted with a bit of class, and ultimately you've been right behind this football club and have been very supportive. So we're very grateful for you and your organisation's support. So thank you to you as well, Stuart.
I appreciate that. Try and get a break if you can, and enjoy those celebrations tomorrow. Mark, pleasure as always. Show us that trophy one more time. Go on.
There she is.
Premier League, Ipswich Town. Thanks very much, Mark.
Have a good day.
Cheers.